My name is Ruckus. I'm 10-8. It feels like I haven't been on in a while. Everything was all jacked up on my end. We're good now. This show on the road here. All right. I think everything speaks for itself. Thus far, I'm an idiot. I used somebody else's material that was copywritten, and I didn't know that. Hi, Tina. I didn't know that. So, Tina, I didn't get that email yet, by the way. I don't know if you sent it. Went to the wrong one or something. Can you hear me okay? Is everything good? For some reason, my computer's out on a screen porch. Not a screen porch, sun porch. I've told you guys that. But it's been hot out here, so it's acting kind of funny, and it's a brand new Mac studio, so kind of hate to have that happen. But I was trying to remember, hi Andy, how are you? I was trying to remember because that was like a 2-hour live that I did. And, I don't need to rehash everything, but there was a few things in there that I thought were pretty good. Okay, Tina, thank you. I didn't think so. I just wanted to check and make sure. That's all. Make sure it wasn't something on my end. I'm not too bright these days, but there's a few things. Tina and I were talking either yesterday or today. I think it was yesterday when we weren't sweating what Brady's doing. But all this stuff that's going on with the DA, the prosecutor, putting in their paperwork, trying to get that bond hearing canceled where they don't have to have it. That's just posturing. That's what they do. It's good lawyering. It's just like his lawyers did a good job of asking for a bond hearing because the DA has to put up the preponderance of evidence, which is most of the evidence, to show the judge that, this guy's guilty of murder. Because it's a zero bond. If you're charged with murder in Indiana, it's an automatic zero bond. You can't bond out. Well, what his attorneys are saying is you don't have enough to charge him with murder. So we want him to have a bond. So you're either going to have to show what you got because what you have on the PCA isn't enough, or you're going to have to let him bond out, or they actually asked if he could be released on his own recognizance. If you can imagine that, that's crazy. But it's just posturing. So, and what Tina and I were talking about is, and when I say Rick Allen, I mean his attorneys as well, okay? Rick Allen knows what was taken out of his house during that search warrant search, okay? And obviously the prosecutor knows what was taken out of his house. So that's a common knowledge, okay? So Rick Allen knows what they found, and the prosecutor knows what they found. But that's all Rick Allen knows. He doesn't know anything else. He doesn't know what if the Wabash River search, which I'm pretty sure it is, involved the whole Anthony Schatz, Keegan Kline connection. And by the way, too, I watched the Keegan Kline interview today with the news station. There was actually 2 of them. And there are inmates behind him just walking around. So he's not in protective custody. I've heard people say that he was in protective custody, and he's not. Other inmates aren't allowed around inmates that are in protective custody. I don't care if there's 2 inmates that are on protective custody. They can't be out at the same time. So, and that's everywhere. That's not just in Florida. That's everywhere. So he's not on protective custody at all. So it makes sense for the way everything else is going. It makes sense. Now, he may have had protective custody to start with, PC, or ADSEG, administrative segregation, because of his charge. But I'm here to tell you, there's a shitload of people in prison with those charges. They're nothing special. There's a lot of them. Now, they'll all say, oh, they got railroaded. The girl was 17, almost 18, when the girl was actually 14 or whatever. But there's a bunch of them. They're nothing special. And they're all classified. So they're not going to put chomos. What you mean? Pedophiles? Is that what you're talking about? They have classification. So they won't put him in with violent. People are charged with violent crimes and stuff like that. So yeah, you're right there. They have a classification unit, and they divide them by the pods. But I've heard right from Jump Street, everybody was saying that he was in protective custody. And that was all over that inmate that did that drawing for him and was putting out information, stuff like that. And everybody's like, well, no, that's bullshit. He couldn't have been his cellmate because he's in protective custody. I don't know if you guys remember hearing that. So, okay. Chomos. I never heard it. I've never heard that one. That's a new one for me. But I've been out of the business for a while, since 08. We used to call them child molesters, pedos, mostly pedophiles. But so we know that they found Libby's cell phone, right? So they knew the Anthony Shots account, and this is what I went over on the last one that I had to delete. But I was thinking about it yesterday and today, so I just want to touch on it again, just to make sure that everybody's clear with the way I'm thinking about this. Not that it matters, but just so we can be on the same page. And I'll entertain anything. I mean, my opinion can change. I just need to see some evidence and good reason for me to change my mind. I like to use, as you guys know, law enforcement information and logic and common sense and that kind of stuff. But law enforcement knew about the Anthony Shots account by the 15th, the latest. Okay, that's why they were at Keegan Klein's house 11 days later. They would have been there sooner, but he was in Vegas. So the day he got home is the day that they showed up at his house to search his house. Now, I researched it today, and my question has always been, how the hell, because law enforcement doesn't play with CSAM. They don't play with that. So if you have that on your phone, on your computer, print it out, if you have any of that stuff, you don't pass go, you don't collect 200, you go straight to jail. Law enforcement doesn't give a shit if you want to be a CI. You can cooperate from jail. They're not going to let you just walk the street. So my question has always been, how the hell did he not get arrested in 2017? Well, I researched it today, and what ISP put out is there was ebbs and flows. They found it, but then there was ebbs and flows in the investigation. As soon as they had something solid, they turned it over to the prosecutor, and they pressed charges immediately, which was in 2020. Now, I'm not buying that. You guys aren't buying that. They're deflecting here, and I wouldn't even call it a theory. This is about the only thing to me that makes sense. Law enforcement will use that account. They do that to Catch a Predator, that Chris Hansen show, where the law enforcement acts as if they're 13, 14-year-old girls and boys, and they get these men to show up at this house that they use as a trap house. But and they put it on TV and stuff like that. It's a great show. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but it's pretty cool. So, well, TK right now, he would have been arrested already. He knows. We all know that he knows what's going on. At the very least, he knows what his kid's doing. And with the verbiage in some of those chats, if they're legit, to me, it screams that that's Tony, or it's at least Tony telling him what to say, to these girls. But I'm positive that law enforcement used that Anthony Shots account. Now, the first thing they want to do is to get on that account. Once they trace it back to Keegan, right? They can't lock him up because if he's locked up, all these people that he's communicating with and disseminating this CSAM with and the Dropbox and all that are going to know he's in jail. So who the fuck's using that account? So they're going to know something's up. They're dumb, but they're not stupid. So they just played it slow. Um, they kept their eye on Keegan. But the only reason why I'm saying is it's plausible is because it's the murder of two 13 and 14-year-old girls. So that's pretty important stuff. If it was just more CSAM, he'd have been in jail. But since it was these murders, I think that they took the gamble on it. So first thing you got to do is look at all of the social media accounts for Anthony Shots. No matter what it was, Kicks, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, whatever he was using, you got to see who he's talking to, right? Now, some of these people we know, if we're taking that transcript of his interview with police as a viable document, if it's been verified, we know that he was talking to somebody else, another gentleman who was also using a female handle account name so that they could conceal their identities a little bit better. It looks like two girls talking. Well, we also know by that document that he had a second, Keegan now had a second female account name because he would tell the girls, well, he'd go in under the girl's name saying, oh, you got to get with Anthony Shots. If you don't believe me, ask my friend. He'd jump on that one. So it's just him playing all these girls. So you have to look at each one of those accounts and see who they're talking to. Now, how do they know which ones are his and which ones are actually legit, victims and stuff like that? Well, they just look at the IP address. So you go on his friends list or on his account where he can just switch accounts. I'm sure you guys are familiar with all this, with the stuff that we have. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Pam. I'm trying to get by this because I can't believe they didn't arrest him. So I'm trying to justify it why they wouldn't. You follow me? But yeah, I agree 100% that Tony's involved. He's a pig. He's a pig, and some of that verbiage, like I said, was definitely somebody else. Wasn't using the same kind of verbiage and the lingo and language and stuff that Keegan was using. It was definitely somebody else. Whether it was Tony or somebody else, I don't know. I believe it's Tony, but I can't say that for sure. So, I don't like to say what I think. I like to say what I know. But, I don't mind taking a little stretch if everything makes sense. If it makes sense and it fits, then you can just tweak it from there. But usually, if everything makes sense, then usually you can get by. But we don't know what law enforcement is holding right now. We don't know what they have. I mean, we didn't know who Richard Allen was. We didn't know they had a bullet. We don't know anything about the crime scene. We don't know cause of death, time of death. What's the word I'm looking for? Intent. What the intent was. So, and we have to find all that stuff out before we can really even go any further with who's involved with the actual crime itself, with the murders. Okay, because it may well be. I don't believe it is. I believe that there's at least one other person at the crime scene that helped him abduct these girls. But could it be just Richard Allen? Yes, it could. But it's if you ask me, if I was going to bet man, I'd say that there's more than one person involved with this. It wasn't just Richard Allen by himself, but it could have been because we just don't know enough yet. I've been really thinking about all this stuff and saying, I hate to say what I think, even if it makes a lot of sense, but it all has to line up. I can't just compartmentalize it and say, well, this works with Keegan, and then this works with Rick Allen, and this works with Tony, and I can't do that because it won't fit together. It won't stack up. But yeah, I agree, Andy. But if Richard Allen acted alone, I just don't get it. Because what was his plan? To kidnap the girls and walk them all the way to the CPS building? No, it doesn't even make sense. So we need to find out, was he on that Hoosier Harvest um, CCTV camera walking? We know he was driving, and he was coming. He was heading north on 300, so that means he was coming from the south side of the bridge around that way, all the way around instead of going up to town. So, I mean, that shows intent right there as well. You know, he's trying to, he knew he was up to something. You know, he didn't want to be on cameras. I don't think he knew there was a camera at the Hoosier hardware store. But if you take the Keegan Klein thing, right? Now, he's in jail. He's not going anywhere, so they don't have to put his name out there. So if he's involved with this, well, then this is going to be on the 17th. That's going to come out. I can't see it not coming out. So we're going to find out a lot on the 17th. If now the prosecutor put in to have that canceled, telling the judge, listen, we've got plenty of evidence. You know we do. So, you know, we don't even have to have this. We have enough to charge him with murder. That's all they have to prove. And he's got zero bond. So we'll see how that plays out. But I hope they have the hearing because, you know, I want to see it. I want to see this hearing. But all this information that we're getting, right, with Keegan and tying him in and the whole Ron Logan search warrant and stuff like that, all of that information was gained surreptitiously. Okay, it wasn't on the up and up. It was all done through murder sheets, and it wasn't done through correct channels. Hey, Rob, it wasn't done through correct channels. So I'm trying to figure out if that stuff's even legit. Okay, it probably is, but you know I want to make sure because a lot of the information that we're basing our theories and opinions and facts on are things that are in that transcript and in that search warrant. You know, we still haven't seen the search warrant for Richard Allen's house. We haven't seen that one yet. I think that one is getting released in a couple weeks. I think just before I think it's 30 days they keep those before they release those in Indiana. So I'd like to see what's on that too, what they were looking for. I don't care what the neighbors said or what the neighbors saw. Eyewitnesses are horrible. They're seldom reliable, and they're not used much as reliable witnesses unless they're really credible people like other law enforcement and stuff like that was on the scene. But, you know, just a neighbor looking through binoculars could see all that they were digging these little tiny holes and stuff like that, and I don't buy it. I've heard so many different things, and you guys all know this, man. There's so much shit floating around out there. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You don't know what the hell's going on. They've got people just trying to make this still trying to make shit fit their narrative. You know, people that think Ron Logan did it or that the family's involved. They're trying to make all this stuff fit their narrative. Still, to this day, they're still talking shit about Kelsey. I just seen one today about Kelsey over the Anthony Schatz account, how she contacted that account on the 13th that night at the police station. Well, she was just going through her sister's accounts, and anybody that she had talked to that day she could see just reached out to him. I'm sure there was a shitload of them. It wasn't just 2 or 3. But, you know, they're running with that. I mean, they're just, I can't believe it, to be honest with you. They're just, but, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me. I don't give a shit what they do. It's just aggravating. I just go right by them. I can't watch them. I try and get as much information as I can because even someone that you know is going down the wrong rabbit hole and you don't agree with them. They may be absolutely right and I may be wrong, but I just don't agree with them, so I'm not going to watch everything they put out. But if there's good production value, I like to learn from that, and they may have a piece or two of information or a link to a piece of information that is useful for me. So I try and go through it anyways, suffer through it. I try and watch them after. I don't like to watch them live because I have to sit there through the whole thing, and because usually they have a bunch of people that are like-minded on their channel and they're all talking about the same thing. Okay, so we know what Rick Allen, his attorneys, are up to. They want to know what law enforcement knows. They already know what they got from the house with the search warrant, and they know what was on the PCA. That's it. But they've got thousands, and this isn't, I'm not guessing this, this is what LE put out, of documents of discovery that they've got to turn over to the defense team. So thousands of documents. Now, it's not hard to get to thousands of documents. I'm here to tell you. Some of them are only a couple paragraphs, and that's a document. But that's still a lot of information that they have. Okay. And from what, I've been going back over shit and watching interviews with Doug Carter and looking at that Wabash search again, checking that out again. And there's no way that's not all tied in. There's no way. Everything happened right in order. I mean, the odds are astronomical that it's a coincidence. And there is no coincidences in law enforcement when it comes to this kind of stuff. They're not going to use all those resources for nothing. For nothing. So all that shit ties in together. So we got Keegan Klein's involved. Now, to what extent? Was he there? Right? I was talking to Rob the other day, and he made a good point talking about that purple PT Cruiser. That the Klein, Tony's mom, had a purple PT Cruiser, and one of the witnesses said that they thought that it was a purple PT Cruiser. But then another person said it was a smart car. Another person said it was a different kind of SUV. So it's hard to nail it down. The PT Cruiser at that time in 2017 wasn't as unique as it was when it first came out. The Chevy HHR was similar to it. There was a couple similar to it. I think the Nissan Juke was out then too, and that's a similar car. If you're just driving by it, doing the speed limit, and you're not paying attention, nobody's looking at everything, except for me. I'm a nosy prick. I look at everything. It's a bad habit, but. So that's plausible as well. That could be. Keegan could have been there in his grandmother's PT Cruiser, right? Could happen. So I mean, it's just a purple PT Cruiser, and then his grandmother owns one. I mean, that's kind of, you put those two things together. But to me, that's a stretch. That's a huge stretch. But it's there. I certainly didn't come up with a purple PT Cruiser. That was right in the PCA. Now, I don't know for sure that Tony's mom had a purple PT Cruiser. I heard that. I don't know if you guys have heard that or saw that or whatever. But there was another thing I was looking into today. We've got all these pictures of the left shoe, the left tennis shoe. And several, I think there's 3 pictures of evidence that was found on the bank, allegedly. Okay, and I'm calling bullshit on those pictures because the kid that found the shoe, Kelsey, was up on, and nobody's even questioning this. She was at the south end of the bridge, and she was on the driveway, actually the private driveway, and somebody yelled up from down at the bank, what kind of shoe does she have and what color? And she said a black Nike, and they said, we found it. And that's the same person that saw something, used a phone. It was a deer, but then he found the girls by looking at the deer. So, but didn't say anything about a tie-dye shirt, which is definitely in that picture. And there's a white item. And the shoe looks too new. It's not worn down or anything. It's not dirty. It's not. It looks pretty pristine to me. And plus, it's got Gavin Fisher's watermark all over it. And that guy's a piece of shit. I'm here to tell you, he's a piece of shit. 0 law enforcement experience, 0. But he acts like he is. And I've watched a few of his things. And he's one of these assholes, that puts on this real clickbaity thing. I've got pictures of the crime scene, and you got to watch it all the way through for him to tell you some bullshit at the end that he doesn't really even have it, or it was these pictures, these bullshit pictures, and he waits all the way to the end. It may be, Pam, but I don't trust anything. Who, and I hate to cuss, so I'm not gonna cuss. But whose murder sheets to put their watermark on that transcript? and on the Ron Logan um, search warrant. That's not their documents, right? It's not their documents. And picture this, that they got that document by mistake. It wasn't supposed to be for public consumption. It wasn't even supposed to be for attorney consumption. From what I understand, they uploaded it, and everything they upload is on for like a few minutes. And then they put it to whatever area they need to put it so people can't see it. Well, he just happened to find it, you know, nudge, nudge, wink, wink type thing. I don't believe it. I don't know how he obtained it, but I don't believe it was an accident. But who the hell is he to put his freaking watermark on it? I know, Rob. I get all worked up, man. I get all worked up. But this guy, Fish, is putting his watermark on these uh, pictures of the evidence, the alleged pictures of the evidence. Now, he obviously didn't take these pictures. He didn't claim he took those pictures. So why the hell is he putting his watermark on it? These people are trying to make money off of the death of these two girls, and I'm sorry, that pisses me off. I think that's ignorant. I think it's rude, and there is absolutely no other reason for them to be doing that. None whatsoever. Now, Murder Sheets obtained that transcript, and it was unredacted. So somebody redacted it. So it had to be them. Yeah, it makes me want to puke too, India. It really does. Do you like to go by India or by Pam? I never know what to call. You know, like I'm just gonna call time Rob because that's what I know him as. I'd go crazy. Oh, you took your message back, Rob. I see that. Yeah, exactly. Photoshop's been around a long time. Now, I'm not saying they're photoshopping anything. I'm just saying that, if they got it and if it is legit, which we don't even know yet, who are they to put their friggin' watermark on it and why? They'd have to explain to me why, you know? Yeah, I hear you there, Andy. I made some nice, they come out really good, some chicken breasts today. They come out awesome with the Vidalia onion barbecue sauce, which is Sweet Baby Ray's. It was really good. But so I'm still working on finding out what's legit and what's not, how these things were obtained. I actually went on Rick Snae's podcast, and I was able to ask Kevin Greenlee personally how he got it, and he said that they were getting ready to send something to Keegan, and they forgot where he was, so they went on to look. They went on my case to look. Now, he's an attorney. Keegan's location is not going to be on my case. His location is going to be on the county, on the jail site. Do you follow what I'm saying? You can't go on my case and find out what cell he's in. So something's not right there. Something's not sitting right with me. Now, do I know what's going on? Do I know, how things are afoot? No, I don't. But I don't know if some people have said that maybe they're working for law enforcement and law enforcement is using them to disseminate misinformation to use to their advantage in the investigation, which they may well be. But I mean, that's asking a lot. That's asking a lot of people who have a podcast. That's being pretty trustworthy. Now, if they started out with just Delphi and this is all they did, I could say maybe they're in cahoots, but they didn't. They started out with some burger stand murder that happened at a restaurant. So, hey, deja vu. But yeah, the sketches, deja vu. Those the sketches are horrible. Eyewitness accounts and police sketches that are obtained via eyewitnesses. They're never used in trial. They're never used for identification. They're useless. They're useless. They're about as useful as a pickpocket in a nudist camp. That's what I always say. So it's not even worth doing a police sketch. To be honest with you, I don't think that anybody's ever been caught by a police sketch ever. But Pete and Doug Carter made it a point to say those are two different people. when that second sketch come out. These are two different people. So even forget about the first one, because that one's out now. Well, then when people started blending them together, I think that Doug Carter is just choosing his battles for what he wants to explain. And if it doesn't mean anything to his investigation, I don't think he even wants to go there with it. So when people say, "Oh, look, you put these two together, and it's Rick Allen," I think he's just whatever, you know. He's not going to fight about it. He's choosing his battles. It's not worth going over that shit, you know, saying, "Look, I told you it was two different people." He's got nothing to gain by doing that. So he's he's pretty chill. So he knows what he's doing. He's no dummy, that's for sure. But with Rick Allen's attorneys, they want to find out what the district attorney has, right? So the district attorney, they really don't care. They'll go for this bond hearing. Their only trick is they don't want to give up too much. They want to give up a preponderance of the evidence, which is all you need for reasonable doubt. As a matter of fact, you don't even need 100%. You need a preponderance of the evidence to get reasonable doubt. And that's usually the yardstick that you use for reasonable doubt, is a preponderance of the evidence. But if they don't give enough of that evidence and the judge says, "Yeah, you know what, I can't really hold him," well, then he's going to get out and he's going to kill himself, right? And they don't want him to do that. If he's guilty, which we all pretty much know he is, if he gets out, he's going to kill himself. He can't kill himself now. There's no way he can kill himself. They're not going to allow it. So, and polygraphs, yeah, those are useless as well. I mean, you can't use them in court. It's just a tool. It's like I told you guys, it's like the when you get pulled over for DUI, the field sobriety test. It's not a pass or fail. They're just collecting evidence against you. It's all on camera. And it can't help you. It can only hurt you. You can't, nobody is ever going to pass a field sobriety test. It's not a pass or fail test. It's just a collection of evidence. That's all it is. So even if you are buzzed, don't blow. Don't take the field sobriety test. Tell them to go outside and play hide and go fuck themselves. So just if you got to go, don't blow. That's the rule. That's the number one rule with DUIs. If they're taking you to jail, if you got to go, don't blow. Don't do it. And your attorney will thank you. Trust me, because he'll get it bumped down to a reckless driving misdemeanor, and you won't lose your license, and it won't cost you $10,000 and all that stuff. So just a little pointer. I'm sure you guys aren't out drinking and driving and all that stuff, but it's just good information to know. Now, we're going to start getting into some stuff here, right? Because, well, in the Idaho case, Brian has waived his right to a speedy trial. Rick Allen still has not done that. He's still scheduled for March. Now, neither side's going to be ready for March. Neither side is. But he's posturing. Well, his attorneys are. They're still posturing. Because if they come out too soon, if they come out now and they say, "Okay, we're going to waive the right to speedy trial, because nobody's ready, blah, blah, blah," then everybody's going to relax. They're going to kick back, and now the state has got to be ready for March, because he hasn't waived his right to a speedy trial yet. So they got to be ready for March. So they're hustling. And the defense team wants to get as much of the information as they can before they plan their next step. It's the same thing with Brian. He hasn't even pleaded in his case yet. He hasn't pled guilty, not guilty, no contest, nothing. Because he was able somehow in that state, in Idaho, you can put off your first appearance for 6 months. That's fucking nuts. So now he's going to get all of this information in 6 months. So he can make a better informed decision about how he's going to proceed with this case. And he's no dummy. I mean, he's got to be a PhD in criminal justice. So, I mean, he knows his shit. But to me, that's ridiculous. That whole system sucks if that's the case. Everybody's going to do that. Everybody, Yes, thank you, Deja Vu. Please hit all three of you. Please hit the like for me before you leave. Every little bit helps. But if The Idaho case isn't even going to be fun anymore because I mean he did it. Everybody was jumping up and down over this shit with the public defender was defending Xana's mom, and then she's not doing that anymore. She's going to defend Brian. You know, who gives a shit? Whoever his attorney is screwed. They're doing it to get their 15 minutes of fame because they're going to lose. They're going to lose bad. Bad. Ooh, we get 9 watching. Wow, that's good. That's very good for me. That's excellent. I don't mind if there's only 3, to be honest with you. I was just joking. You guys are awesome. I really enjoy talking with you guys. You guys are on pretty much right on top of shit, and you're pretty smart. It's hard for me to talk to people that are way out in left field because I don't want to be a jerk. But then again, I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time entertaining things that I know aren't going to happen, you know. And I'm not being arrogant. I'm just saying that, you know, if I don't believe it, why would I waste my time with it? And again, I could be wrong. I doubt it. I'm seldom wrong. What are you gonna do? It's like I said, my wife knew she married Mr. Right. She just didn't know my first name was always. But if we get, there's a few things I want to find out. Now, these pictures, these crime scene, not crime scene, and that's another thing. These assholes are putting up crime scene photos. No, they're not crime scene. They're evidence photos. But who's going to click on that? You know? No, I don't mind if people lurk. You'd be amazed. Some people that lurk hit me up in Discord, and they've got all kinds of information. There's some really good researchers that just lurk, and they know their shit. They got it down pretty good. But these aren't crime scene photos. They're evidence photos, right? Obviously, we all know that. But still, these assholes are putting down crime scene photos just so people click on it. They're thinking they're going to see a body. That's morbid curiosity. They're looking for bodies, not sneakers. So, well, I've seen you around, Pam. I've seen you on other channels. I know you're definitely on Charlie's. I mean, Charlie needs to do true crime. His live was awesome the other night. I've been telling him right along the whole time he needs to do it like this. So it's easier than just grifting, just talking to yourself. It's much easier. Even if you just know people are there and listening, it's much easier to get through an hour where he only usually does 25, 30 minutes. Well, he almost hit an hour the other night, and it was like, bam, just because, we were all talking with him. But he's Charlie's national treasure. I'm telling you, I love Charlie to death. He's a keeper. He's a good guy. I wish he would move back to Florida. Him and I would have some fun. I know that. I'm about 5 years older than he is, 6 maybe, even 7. But it sucks. I just found out a friend of mine died. Charlie's age, 52 years old. Had brain cancer. I didn't even know that. Just passed away yesterday morning. But I want to find out that guy Jay, is it Keeden, the photographer, the one that took the pictures of the crime scene tape and all that stuff. He said that I could see from 75 yards away, I could see girls' clothes in the water, and I knew far well that the girls were going to be found close to that. Oh, thank you, Pam. Yeah, I didn't even know. He's a good friend. I actually know his girlfriend. My wife and I have known his girlfriend for a long time, so he's kind of new into our group. But I mean, new. 8 years he's been around. But we moved about an hour north, so we don't get to see everybody as much as we used to. But still, really, really good guy. And 52 is way too young. I mean, I'm going to be 59 this month, so I'm ahead of the game, I guess. But I want to find out where that guy was standing. He said he could see the girl's clothes, and he was 75 yards away. Now, I have a few questions, of course, right? It's me. It's Ruckus. Of course, I got a few questions. A, where was he standing? And B, how does he know it was 75 yards? How does he know? I'm pretty good with distance, but I wouldn't be able to just rip off 75 yards. I would say it's between 50 and 100 yards or something like that, you know, because that's not a long distance. 75 yards isn't that far away at all. So, I mean, I hit a pitching wedge in golf. I mean, I hit a sand wedge 100 yards. I mean, that's crazy, So he wasn't that far away, but where was he? Was he on the bank? Was he on the bridge? Was he on the north side? Was he on the south side? Which side of the river was he on? The creek? I don't know that information. Okay, and the only reason I want to know this is so that now I can make an even more informed decision on these pictures, on these evidence pictures. There's just way too much. Okay, those pictures were taken on the 14th, right, or the 15th. No, the 14th. On the 14th, and they're just getting out now. They're leaked now. It's fishy to me. You know why? Because there's nothing going on with the case. Everybody's looking for something to talk about. All of a sudden, these pictures pop out. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not at all. Possible, but not probable. Well, you know me. I usually lean. My arrow goes a little bit past 50%. I wouldn't talk about it if I didn't believe it. I try. You guys be amazed. I know I talk a lot. You'd be amazed at how much I don't say, because I don't like to say what I think. I like to say what I know. Seems like they had warrant. This picture would have come out forward and say as much. Yeah, if they weren't his pics. Yeah, I who could have taken those pictures? Think about it. Now, everybody's saying, oh, there was a bunch of people around there and everybody has cell phones and yada, yada, yada. Well, no, that kid, as soon as he said, hey, what color shoe is she wearing? He picked it up. Okay, so it would had to have been him. It would had to have been him. Or there was two other people with him, one of those two people. So they would have turned that over to law enforcement, just like they did with everything else, right? And so you're going to tell me that law enforcement just let that shit sneak out? I don't think so. I don't think so. Some things you can just say with a lot of confidence that, that's not something that law enforcement would do. It's just not something they would do. It's just like not arresting Keegan. That's not something they would do. But when you're talking about a high profile double homicide recently happened, yeah, I can see him rolling the dice so that they can work that Anthony Shots and every other little tentacle is a good word for it, that runs off of that, to get to it. Now, they kept saying things, their verbiage too. We're still working on Keegan Klein. How many times have you guys heard that? Yeah, well, we're still working on Keegan Klein. Why is he even being talked about with this case? And I don't trust the news. When I watched that interview with Keegan where he was on the phone, the little fake laptop computer thing, the interviewer's asking him questions, he's answering them, but they use creative editing, folks. They do it all the fucking time, all the time. They're asking him questions. They're not the questions that we're hearing. And then they get back and they put whatever questions they want and use his answers to make it look one way or another. They did the whole making of a murderer like that. I've heard some bad things about the people that made that whole series, that they just sensationalized it, that guy's guilty as hell, and they knew it, but they just made it look, it was easy. That one was easy. But you can't tell me that, I don't want to get into it huge, but, law enforcement planted her car and blood, his blood, they somehow got a vial of his blood and put it in her car. Give me a break. I mean, people will fall for anything. I'm telling you, anything. But getting back to this, so I want to find out where that guy was standing when he saw the girls' clothes in the water, because I believe he did. I'm not questioning that he saw girls' clothes in the water. I don't believe he saw that, because he would have been able to see it was a sneaker. Not to be morbid, but I can almost hear these girls scream. Oh, I know. I know. And I think it was Greeno, or maybe it was Michael Cat, that went there and had a girl go over near that area and scream, right? And they walked all the way back to Mears and they could hear it. All the way back to almost Freedom Bridge and they could hear it. So if those girls screamed, there had to be nobody around. Nobody. And the Ring doorbell, whatever it was, I guess it was a business. Me and Tina were looking into that. Might have had see, I didn't even think of checking that. Might have had a microphone on it. But so if they did scream, somebody should have probably heard it, right? Because we've already surmised with what we know now since the PCA that there were people in the general area. So if the girl screamed, they would have heard it. Now, here's another thing, too. First, I hear no signs of struggle. Did you guys hear that? Right? Were you going on that assumption at first that there was no signs of struggle? So then I was assuming because of Robert Ives, and that guy pisses me off too. He should have kept his mouth shut. How the hell are you going to retire or quit or whatever and then drop all of this information that law enforcement doesn't want out? You don't put out what happened at the crime scene. You don't. Law enforcement keeps that close to the hip because only them and the killer knows. Because you'd be surprised how many people will confess to a murder they didn't do. There's a bunch of wackos out there that will confess to shit that they didn't do. So the detectives actually have to say, well, how did you kill him? So that's why they keep that shit close to the hip. Yeah, no signs of struggle, I heard. Deja vu. When I first started watching all of this stuff a couple months ago, when I first got on with Frank, it was no signs of a struggle. So I was like, this is before we knew there was a bullet. Somebody had mentioned, as a matter of fact, somebody actually said that they heard the girls say gun, right? And that they heard on the guys down the hill, they heard a gun racking. Well, we know that, well, no, that could be true because that could have been the round that was in the chamber that he racked it again to threaten them with, and he ejected that one. So it could be true. I actually have that recording. He sent it to me. He slowed it down, he cleaned it up, and he did a great job. Great job. But so I was under the assumption that bridge guy, we didn't know who Rick Allen was yet. We didn't know anything about a gun or a bullet or anything like that. We didn't know about all these witnesses and the Hoosier Heartland camera or anything like that. I had in my head, okay, the reason that I got attracted to this case was like, how the hell, man? They got this guy on video and audio, and it's been it's 6 years, and there's no arrest in a small town like that. That's what made me start looking into it. Well, then, because of Robert Ives, right? Oh, bloody scene, non-secular, strangest scene I've ever seen. And even Doug Carter said that you people didn't see what my people saw about a quarter of a mile behind us here. So it was, I guess it was a pretty bad crime scene. But I was assuming that they were kidnapped with the threat of a sharp instrument, of a knife or a machete or a sword or whatever, a katana, K-bar, who knows. But I thought it was just a knife. I didn't know there was any firearms involved. So I'm picturing this guy taking them at knife point and, maybe them running or not. But now I'm leaning way towards that there was somebody on that private drive. Nothing went right. Rick Allen's plan was not to walk down 300 muddy and bloody. If this is all true, if we're taking this at face value, 300's, I mean, it's called a highway, but it's barely 2 cars wide. And it's got all kinds of patches on it and stuff. It's a country road. It's paved, but barely. And you can't go fast through there, and there's no sidewalks. So if she did see him on the side of the road walking, okay, and there's woods, so he can't be, he'd have to be in the grass area on the shoulder. He's not more than 10 feet away from her, 12 feet tops, no matter what side of the road he was on. And she's not driving fast through there. Nobody does. I mean, you can see it on that camera. Nobody drives fast on that road. So, yeah, if she said he's muddy and bloody, I'm not saying that that's out of the question at all. And everybody's like busting her balls bad. They're like, oh, muddy, bloody lady. She blah, blah, blah. What are you talking about? But you'll believe that somebody 75 yards away could make out girls' clothes. Not trash, girls' clothes. You know what I mean? I mean, was it underwear? Was it what? We've all listened to the scanners, too, the police scanners, right? Now, they're all blended in. It's a couple different agencies talking at the same time, and it's also 2 different days mixed in, bled into there. So, because we know that the cigarette butt they didn't find until the 15th. So, that didn't even make sense, some of it. So, I've always thought they were abducted, taken somewhere and drugged, essay, filmed, then brought back and murdered. Just my theory. Well, here's the thing, Pam. Law enforcement has come out and said that they were killed right where they were found. Nobody's saying that there's not a second crime scene. They're saying that's where they were killed. So you could be absolutely right. And that's not totally out of the question either. But if that's the case, Pam, I mean, that screams more than one offender. More than one. So, and those girls, I mean, I'm not going to say that they're angels or anything like that. I'm not going to say they're street smart, but it appeared to me that at least Libby was not going to be pushed around. I don't think Libby would be pushed around. Just today, Pam, okay, I'm retired from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office down here in Florida, and my son works for them now. The sheriff's name is Chris Nocco. Great guy. He's been around since right when I retired in 2008, so he's been around a long time. If you go on YouTube, it says human trafficking, huge human trafficking in Pasco County, Florida. Just today, happened today. 15-year-old girl got in an argument. She was living with her aunt and left. And random, the guy that cleaned their pool, she had his phone number. He's in his 30s, whatever. You saw that, Rob? Yeah, that's my county, dude. That's where I lived. But she ended up having sex with random men in 2 weeks, like 8, 9 of them, Rob, right? I mean, it's crazy. One of the girl had her stripping at a strip joint, 15 years old. 15 years old. And he had all the pictures up, and all those guys are going to prison. One guy just got out. And the one guy that found her walking down the road, brought her home, says, you have to have sex with him. He just got out of prison. And she didn't want to. They got in a big argument, and he forced her. So there you go. I mean, look it up. Pasco County human trafficking. It's sad and it's sickening. Because this poor girl, 3 times in those 2 weeks, she was walking down the street, like 2, 3 in the morning, when she came across these random perverts. You know, rather than help her out, you know, if any one of us happen to be, you know, leaving work or whatever, we work midnights, whatever the case, and we're out at 3 in the morning, we see some young girl walking down the street, I'm certainly not going to pick her up and bring her to the bushes. You know, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Well, I do, especially that county. I'm very familiar with that county. But so yes, and my whole point for telling that story, Pam, is that yeah, it's very well could happen because it just happened to this poor girl. So yeah, it could happen. Human trafficking doesn't mean that they take people and throw them in ships and send them across the ocean and sell them, you know, into the sex slaves, the sex trade. But you know, just locally, it's a sad state of affairs. Sad state of affairs for sure. Now, all right, so if you guys could help me with this, I'm going to keep looking as well. I've asked a few people. I haven't gotten any answers yet. on where this guy was standing when he saw the clothes 75 yards away. He was 75 yards away, and he could see girls' clothes. Now, what did he see? Lafayette Boys Club. But is that where he was? I don't even know what that is. is that near the bridge? But I'm gonna have to figure it out. I'm gonna have to figure it out because I want to know, and so that I can, for my own sanity, so I can know in my head, I can put that to bed whether or not those pictures are real. Right now, I'm going with they're not. Yeah, he's a troll. Yeah, I'm surprised I don't have many trolls on my thing. I haven't got anybody that's really putting anything on there. I have a setup where anything that's even sketchy, I have to approve it before it can be put up. Otherwise, they'll take my videos down like they do to Charlie. They do that to Charlie all the time. I don't know why people are doing that to Charlie, putting rude comments after his videos, and he ends up losing views and all that kind of stuff. He said he's actually lost subscribers over that they take subscribers. You know, what are you gonna do? But that was it. I just want to touch base with that. Keegan's in, Tony's in, as far as I'm concerned. So that's and I'm not one of these. Oh, this is my channel. You do shit my way. No, I'm here because I like this. I enjoy discussions and stuff like that. Shit, Rob will tell you that. Him and I don't agree about anything. Neither me and Charlie, to be honest with you. I was really fucking with him the other night during his live, asking him loaded questions, and I'm sure Rob got on. Because I was like, hey, what are your thoughts? Was meth involved with this? Because this is not a drug case. This is definitely not a drug case. But Rob and Charlie think it may well be. And they could be right. But I don't think it's a drug case at all. But I've seen funnier things. We all have, haven't we? So I want to find out where that guy was standing. That shouldn't be too hard to do. I'm going to find out. I've already called the county, but I'm going to call another section of the county. No video, no voice chat. I'm video only now. Except with Rob. I voice chat with Rob. Me and Rob talk for hours on the phone, seems like. I just watched a thing about a Utah gang, white supremacist gang in Utah, Rob. The Aryan something. And man, they're pretty bad. I just watched a little bit of that today and I couldn't even finish watching it. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm glad we don't have that shit around here, to be honest with you. Even in the prison system, the Aryan Brotherhood's not too bad in Florida. They're all just, they just do their own thing. They have groups, you know, but they just do their own thing. Don't have much problems down here. Big business. It's all going private now, as a matter of fact. But, yeah, so I'm going to find out about this Keegan Kline transcript thing. I'm going to call the county back. I'm going to talk to Marianne Luck, was her name. Now I'm going to find out, because what I'm understanding is that when they load this up, when they scan it up to put it into the system online, that it goes out there for anybody to see for a few minutes. Well, I need to verify that. I've got to verify that information. To me, that doesn't make sense. I'm not saying it's not true, but that doesn't make sense at all. So, you know, I want to find that out. And like I said, Keegan's in, Tony's in. I want to start discussing the whole ski mask guy. Does that come into play? Is it worth even talking about at all? Because all it would do is just show the level of character that these people have. And I think we pretty much already know what their character is like. So, but you take, right after the murders, Keegan hauls ass. Him and his dad go to Vegas. While they're in Vegas, they're looking up how long's DNA stay in the body. And I say they because his dad was there as well. We don't know who the hell was using that shit, looking it up. Could have been either one of them, but they were definitely looking that shit up. How long does DNA stay in a body? Kept looking up the Delphi murders, seeing what was going on with it, blah, 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 blah. They come back. Law enforcement's there waiting on him. What's Keegan say? Oh, I'm fucked. I should have left. I was waiting for him to go to sleep. I got a bag packed already. I'm fucked. So what's that? Ding, 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 ding. He's guilty of something. Now, it may just been a CSAM. It may have been, but I don't think so. I don't think so. And then for them not to arrest him, something's afoot. They already know who Anthony Schatz was. They had some good info on it already. They tied it back to Keegan. They knew Keegan's the one that made that account. But if we take that transcript as gold, that transcript wasn't until 2020 when they arrested him. And they were talking like that they were telling him for the first time that they were aware that he had all of this stuff. So if they cut him loose, they certainly didn't tell him. They certainly didn't tell him. And that's how dumb these people are. That's how dumb these people are. He had no idea that they were watching him and running these accounts behind his back and gathering intel. That's how stupid they are. And they're out there breathing up our perfectly good air. These assholes are out there running up and down the aisles in Walmart, that's for sure, using the self-checkout. Me, I don't go to the self-checkout until they start having Christmas parties for us employees that do that self-checkout. I've asked them more than once, and I guess they don't plan Christmas parties for self-checkout people, so they can put me, I need to get a W-2 if I'm going to fucking check myself out. Unless I'm going to be like, all the crackheads around here and stuff, I just save 15% by using self-checkout. They rob them blind, I bet. I don't know how they can trust people with that, but they're making so much money, it doesn't matter. Shrinkage. It's called shrinkage. They can afford to lose so much. All right, so Keegan's in, Tony's in. I got to find out about this transcript because it's just shady as hell. How it was obtained. Also, the Ron Logan search warrant, how it was obtained, pretty much the same way. So the verbiage in that warrant is what made everybody go to a knife because they were looking for bladed instruments, sharp instruments, but they're also looking for firearms and digital media. And so they're basically looking for everything. It was just like a regular search warrant to me. But it was the way the woman who wrote the search warrant said, with all her training and all her experience, that people that commit crimes like this usually take souvenirs and da-da-da-da-da-da. So that's, some of the stuff they're definitely looking for. But the other stuff was just like a boilerplate stuff. Guns, knives, toothpicks, anything that could be used in the thing. Yeah, FBI. I know, Ty. You know how I feel about all of that. There's no way this is a conspiracy. There's no way. There's no way this is a cover-up. Do you know how huge of an operation it would have to be for this to be a conspiracy and or a cover-up? It's impossible. It's impossible. Don't even talk to me about it, because I don't have time for that. That's crazy to think that it was a cover-up or a conspiracy. Not pre-crime, not post-crime, not during crime. It's just not. Now, could people have made mistakes? Absolutely. Absolutely. People could have fucked up. Yep. But nobody's covering anything up. It's not going to happen. It'll never happen. Look at this shit that's going on in Memphis. They try to cover that up. How long that lasts? Let me see. Carry the 3, 6 minutes. Everybody's fired. Chief of police, all of them. And they should be. They should be. But they tried to cover it up. They wrote reports. Yada, yada, yada. You can't. There's no way. That would have to be the hugest operation ever. And you look at the information that's getting out in this case to people like us, nobodies that have podcasts. I'm getting information that I definitely shouldn't be getting. So you can imagine if there was a cover-up, it would already be out. Everybody would know about it. Or if it was a conspiracy. I know you hate to hear that, Professor, but it's PhD against GED, brother. So we know how that goes. But I'll start working on that on my end. Remember we talked about the bullet and the fingerprints on the bullet and the DNA on the bullet. So we haven't heard anything about any of that. We haven't heard anything about any DNA, any other transfer items on the bodies, body hair, body fluids, anything like that. Nothing like that. Now, if he was muddy and bloody, and I'm saying if this woman says he was, I believe she thinks he was muddy and bloody. She was close enough and driving slow enough, in my opinion. How do you get all muddy? The only way you can get muddy is in that creek and along the creek, the creek bank, which was pretty steep. And you could get muddy there if you slipped and fell, or if you were struggling with somebody, but no signs of struggle, right? Isn't that what we've all heard? And then I hear that, oh, Libby fought like crazy. But I heard that on a podcast, so I don't know. And I can't find anything. I think Ives is the one that said there was no signs of a struggle, but he's an idiot. He's an idiot. You don't be a prosecutor and then leave and then say all this shit about the case. It's just, I know law enforcement wasn't happy with him about that. And I don't care how it happened, whether it was a casual conversation or on the news or what, writing a book. I don't give a shit. You don't do that. You don't do that. You're jeopardizing the whole case. And these two little girls got murdered. So, but let's start working on that. If you guys agree with that and you want to help me with that, that would be awesome. I like to do shit as a group. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself, and I shouldn't have to buy a camera and all that shit to talk to myself. I have mirrors. I can't walk by them, though. Every time I walk by a mirror, it's like, oh, that's just me. That's just me in the mirror. Keep whistling at myself. But that's going to be it for me. I'm going to look up that stuff that I'm interested in finding out about. I'm not even going to worry about the Idaho case for 6 months. All this shit that's popping up now on both of these cases is a bunch of bullshit. Till the 17th, all we're doing is verifying. Basically, you know what I'm doing? I'm verifying shit that people are bringing up because they don't have anything else to talk about. So basically, my job is just to shoot down their bullshit stuff, I guess. And it'll make me sleep better at night. But thank you all for coming and hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And I will catch you on the flip side. Talk to you guys on Discord. If you're not a member of Discord, join it, please. We talk on there. We usually talk in private groups and on the voice chat, but still, we talk on there. As long as you don't start answering yourself, the conversation. Yeah. We'll talk to you later. All right, Tina, I'll talk to you soon. My name is Ruckus. I am 10-7. I'll talk to you guys later.